Hello Void and all who inhabit it, it's me. Another viewer wondering why the hell the Keating 5 looks so old in the flash forward. Yes, hello, back again, revisiting content as I love to do. A few months ago, I combed through Michaela's character development up until the mid-season 6 finale, which is a good way to waste a half an hour and will be linked below. At the end of that video, I mentioned what I wanted to see for her in the last stretch of the series, and as expected, I was disappointed. Well, actually, I didn't want her to go to jail, and she didn't, so there's that. The end of the show made a lot of interesting character decisions, and by interesting, I mean y'all should have left them in the drafts. Not necessarily because of the decision itself, but because of the timing. Like, the decisions with Sam's character. I did like the scene with Annalise and Bonnie.
None of this makes it what he did, okay? I know. But it makes me see him. I don't know what to do with that.
I thought that was a really strong scene and would have been a nice emotion to unpack, but not 3 episodes from the end. I saw a post, hopefully I can find it, a day after the penultimate episode, where the poster said that the finale wasn't going to be satisfying because the audience wasn't emotionally connected to the fight with the big bad of the season, who was the governor of Pennsylvania. And I agree, the governor was definitely giving Scooby-Doo villain vibes, but that comment and the subsequent finale made me think of 2 things. One, speaking of Sam, was his importance throughout the series. The whole trial is based around his murder, but the power of his influence is inconsistent, even while its existence is constant. And I wouldn't be surprised if the writers didn't know why they were making him so important at the time. And I say this in comparison to the ADA that Asher killed, or even ADA Miller, who just died a season before. People die and then it just doesn't matter. So why do we still care about Sam? I wish throughout the series, and definitely throughout season 6, when they did have an endgame in mind, that they built on Sam's importance better. Because to get to an end where Sam's sister is working in cahoots with the head or the son of the head of a criminal organization and the governor who has feds in her pocket, why is Sam so important? Why does Hannah have so much pull? That I couldn't connect the dots. The second thing that the finale made me realize, branching off of that, is that because our connection to the big bad was so weak, that's why Bonnie and Frank had to die. They had to give that scene some flavor, and it worked. That paired with the song for the last portion had me for a good 10 minutes, okay? Also, I just wasn't expecting to feel so bad for Frank. He had one of the strongest character arcs for the last 2 seasons. Once they gave him a new haircut and took Laurel out of his storylines, he was a much more useful character. This is in comparison to Nate, who has been sliding backwards since season 5, when they had him maim a man in the same manner that his father killed one, which was a disgusting narrative choice. Speaking of regressive character development, Michaela, girl, you have done it again. Or rather, the writers have done it again, lowering the bar, reducing her character to a heartless shell and a pencil skirt. I was really frustrated going through the tag after the finale episode and seeing so many people say that Michaela deserved to suffer, that she should have gone to jail, that she should die alone, that they were glad Oliver pushed her away. Oliver, who, by the way, was not that sympathetic in this episode for me.
Your testimony could make Annalise lose her trial, and that means Laurel goes to prison and Christopher's alone.
I'm all alone if you go through with this.
Even if Oliver's reactions were rational given the situation, I thought it was weird that Connor didn't react to Oliver not caring about Christopher's future and push on that, especially considering Oliver was fanning over the little biscuit baby an episode ago. I mentioned this in my last How to Get Away with Murder video, but Oliver feels like a character who's written by the episode, not holistically, and it is never made more clear than in that moment. But let's go back to that scene when he pushes Michaela away. He's mad at her for what exactly? Because Oliver got Connor a better deal and lied to him about how he got it, despite knowing how sanctimonious his husband had become, and Connor rejected it. Michaela had nothing to do with that and would be losing time with her loved one just the same as Oliver. Like, the level of love is incomparable, but you know what I mean. So I'm not understanding why it's Michaela's fault that Connor decided to not sacrifice his newly found morals to take a better deal. Michaela and Connor's friendship in general for this last chunk of the series was just all over the place. Why have that scene where after they both get their initial deal, they hug each other in the courthouse and say that they took a deal that required the protection of the other one, just to have them later both take deals that were self-serving? In episode 13, after Annalise plays the recording she had of Connor and Michaela, the FBI rescinds their deals, and again, Connor and Michaela meet up, and Connor says that he didn't take the deal. Later, with Oliver, he says that he did. So why, when it's revealed that actually no, Michaela got a better deal, that she's heartless and selfish and deserves to die alone? They did the same thing. Connor just got the end of the stick. Literally, neither of these people have progressed or grown at all. They're still hella selfish and self-serving. One of them just learned new buzzwords that make him seem self-sacrificing instead, so that he is then seen as the better character. And then there's this moment, girl, when Connor says they should, as he's been saying, should all go to jail. And Michaela says,
I already went to prison, Connor. It's called my childhood.
And describes some instances of child abuse. And I was like, this would have been good information to know 3 seasons ago, before y'all introduced her honky-tonk adoptive mama for like 5 minutes, or after that heated conversation with Lynn Whitfield in season 1. This show explores the impacts of childhood abuse and neglect with multiple characters, from Annalise and Bonnie to Sam. But Michaela, who makes it very clear early on that she clawed her way out of some hell to get where she is just a heartless baby capitalist with little to no backstory. Okay, cute. You know what this reminds me of? Daniel Redfern. I did a whole review on Deathless Divide, the book in which Redfern is a character, but he presents the same issue of an unlikable character who isn't given much rationale to his behavior, and when it does come, it's very small, and it feels mad thin before he goes back to being this distrustful stereotype. The big difference is that Redfern does begin to change where Michaela doesn't. This series, again, was able to show the progression and impact of trauma that happened before the start of the show in Annalise and Bonnie and Frank and arguably Laurel, though hers felt a lot more like telling than showing. There's no reason to not do that for Michaela. And here's the thing. I'm not saying Michaela has to be likable. I think they did a good job with Annalise showing a black female character be unlikable or do unlikable things, but still have reasonable character motivation. A lot of Annalise's behavior can fall into the category of, I don't agree, but I understand. Michaela, on the other hand, is 2 steps removed from being just as cartoonish a portrayal of villainy as the governor. They made the decision to retcon Frank's parents in a move to make Sam more sympathetic, to make Frank more volatile, to do something, girl, I don't know. It was in favor of those 2 characters. The decision to do nothing beneficial for Michaela's character growth or morality, to show her rejected and potentially removed from all of these people for life, given that she wasn't at the funeral, for her to be the only one alone in the end, is disgusting. She got what she wanted, right? Like, we see her confirmed as a Supreme Court justice or whatever, but she's seemingly alone and probably had to do some shady deals to get there. In my old video, I said I wanted her to bond more with her father, but we only really see that through her getting a better lawyer and a better deal. Her connection with her father isn't emotional, it's transactional. And it's interesting because she clings so quickly to him, she who was ready to throw him away for nothing but his money, and just as quickly tosses her connections with these people she's known for 3 years. Her first deal with the FBI was contingent on Connor being protected as well. Why is that desire to save each other trashed? For both of them, honestly. Like, I can't suspend belief far enough to accept that Michaela has the emotional depth of a haunted house cardboard cutout, while at the same time, Connor is supposed to be this profound, changed, reflective man, and that these two are best friends who made the same decision. I think we could have had better conversations about guilt and consequences than Connor wanting to martyr himself and yelling at Oliver that it's what he deserves. Even though Connor didn't kill or physically hurt anyone and simultaneously feels bad about lying, which is what is giving him the deal. Like, you think this is what you deserve, but that's not even true because you're lying to get a better sentence. We do have some exploration of guilt with Annalise, and I think her closing remarks of the trial were a very strong wrap-up of her character's dilemma.
I have done many a bad thing, but those are not the crimes I'm being tried for. It's murder, and I am no murderer.
I liked the acknowledgement of wrongdoing while also rejecting blanket punishment, and seemingly she was able to atone for what she did. But if the idea is that Michaela isn't like Annalise and doesn't believe in atonement, or at least only being punished for what you did, isn't like Connor and doesn't believe in zero-sum punishment where I did bad things so I deserve to be punished an equal amount, and she also hasn't learned any type of lesson that is aligned with what everybody else was able to pick up, why are we not exploring with her why she feels so adamant to be selfish? If her behavior is so contradictory to the end of the season and the series and to her own character at times, why write it? What point does it serve to so easily fall back to bad tropes and piss poor character development for the only other dark-skinned black female character? Michaela started the series wanting so bad to be like Annalise, but by the end, who is she supposed to be? Do the writers even know? If you made it to the end, thank you for making it to the end. As a former Pretty Little Liars fan, I'm just glad this show didn't end with somebody having a secret twin. Anyway, I have a lengthy list of old TV to catch up on, so it might be a while before any freshly lukewarm ideas. Until then, stay safe. I'll see you in the next echo chamber.